Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for this presentation. I'm going to turn over to Chad in just a second, but first things first, I just want to acknowledge that at UFE, we work, learn, and play on the land of the Stolo people. My name's Katrina. I've also got Sam with me, who's the Kinsa president, and then Chad, of course. And we are all privileged to work, learn, and play on the land of the Coast Salish people now. All right, Chad, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks guys, I really appreciate being here. I'm just gonna go right to my screen share here. I'm the kind of person who jam-packs presentations. I will give us some administrative details in 2 seconds once the screen's up. So again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys can get a few takeaways from my all too many years of experience. Okay. So the title of today is Success After Graduation. And first things first, one of the things I always miss when it comes to having a little bit of fun with these Zoom things and using some of the technology to our advantage is, as you can see down the bottom right-hand corner, my Instagram account, @prepare, and that should say to perform. I just put that on there. So it should be the number 2 in between prepare and perform. So as you're going through this, go ahead and screenshot, tag me in the post if you like, as you're doing things on social media. That can also be, Facebook. If you go to Activated71, all my information's at the back end of this presentation. The reason why I believe that Dr. Brandenburg has invited me to come onto this is that I have had a pretty elaborate career as far as the fitness and sport performance industries go. And so to that end, I'm just going to quickly walk us through some of the things that I've done. So in a very short period of time, I accomplished quite a lot coming from the University of Victoria, where I did my master's and where Dr. Brandenburg was doing his PhD at the time, and where we collaborated on a project specifically related to hypertrophy and some of the acute training variables associated with it. I then went on to actually begin to build a very long resume in sport performance. And that started off with Twist Conditioning and what's become known as Twist Performance and Wellness, another facility called iQuest Sport Performance, where I actually was a part owner for the organization. And then moving further along, I actually spent some time with Canadian Sports Center as the head strength and conditioning coach for the national women's basketball team, and another couple blind sport activities as well as the national sailing team. So I did a lot of really cool things. And through that process, there's this group called B210, which ended up actually being overseeing the athlete development programs one way, shape, or form for 10 of 15 gold medalists that were out of 2010. So in a sport performance arena, I accomplished a lot, was able to get a lot of experience, and I'll sort of try and help you navigate what key components are required of you as you graduate and as you move past post-graduation in order to be able to give yourself opportunities that may set you up for success in the industry. And then I sort of started down the mentorship and what I would call the fitness journey. And it's not that my passion was fitness, to be perfectly honest, although I personally work out a lot, and Jay might even refer to me as a meathead at one point in time in my career. The reality is I went down that path. My own company, a personal training institute, which is that British Columbia Personal Training Institute, Director of Education for Steve Nash Fitness Clubs, the Director of Education for Innovative Fitness, which I currently hold the title of, and also a sponsored fitness presenter for 360 Athletics. So the entire portion of that right-hand side of this slide is to say my goal switched over from high performance to mentorship, to having the opportunity to speak with my peers, to help guide my peers and help use my experiences, my mistakes, and the long process has taken me to figure out the most efficient ways to have some degree of success in the industry, but yet still maintain a career path and evolve my career in such a way that it actually allowed me some longevity, which is not commonly the case. A lot of people burn out within the first 2 to 3 years because they don't see a pathway towards success. So the key takeaways I want for you guys today, and it really honestly comes down to two things, even though we have a part 1 and a part 2, where I'm going to walk you through some of the what I call key soft skills that are required for you to understand what your why is, why you're in this industry, why you're a kinesiologist, what you're hoping to achieve after graduation, and some of the things you can do to sort of start down that journey path. And then secondly to that, look at some of the things that I believe are uniquely positioned opportunities in the industry that get moved beyond quantitative design and more into qualitative, with a quantitative conceptual model built around it in the sense that we're looking at the quality of movement as opposed to how many sets, reps, load, and your standard strength and conditioning parameters that come along with actually training a client and progressing them from low function to high function. So it's a very different model. It's not the high performance model. It's a parallel model to help people safely and effectively achieve their goals. So the key takeaways for today. The number one thing to understand, and this is both psychology of performance and the actual physical development of performance, is to meet people where they're at. So that could be anything from assessments to building rapport, understanding where that person is and what you're going to do today that will align you to their purpose. Your purpose aligning with their purpose is where success truly happens. Secondly, know your why. Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? That's what we're going to refer to as a mission statement. And then thirdly, understanding that qualitative and quantitative approach and how both of those things are actually essential to your success when building programming, no matter if it's in high performance or if it's in fitness. There's an old way to this and there's a new way to this. And you know, the old is often becomes the new in many ways in a very circular kind of way. They usually sort of move through 15 to 20 year cycles when it comes to, especially in the fitness and performance industry. Obviously, technology continues to evolve, which allows us to get deeper into certain aspects of these environments. But the thing I didn't know, and Jay will probably, Dr. Brandenburg would probably be the first one to say, I probably was a bit of a bull in the China cabinet when I first started into this industry, particularly when I was at the University of Victoria. I believed that information and knowledge was power, and it was the only power. The reality is, the greatest power is building rapport and creating connection with people so that they actually listen. And I'll come back to this a little bit more. Something else that I think we all intuitively understand is that collaboration is important, but actually putting effort into building relationships that allow for collaboration where you feel fulfilled in different ways is essential to your development and success. So these aren't textbook concepts. These are concepts that require you to work on sometimes because you're not necessarily hardwired to behave in a soft skill kind of way. I was a hard skill kind of guy. I was definitely a technician. I was all about high performance. I was all about high level operation and execution. And I believe that clients would naturally come to me, athletes would naturally want to train with me if I was providing them with the best opportunity for them to have success. The reality was it had nothing to do with my skills, or minimally had. The impact of my skill set was less than I wanted it to be. And for someone to trust you, to truly trust you, they need to believe that you care about them. And there's some research here actually that came out of the strength and conditioning journals that looks at, there's an article in here, so that's reference for you guys to take a look at. But the real takeaway from this slide is one thing, okay, is that coaches' characteristics that athletes really desired were that they were caring, that they were knowledgeable, and that they understood their role. So the caring part was the number one indicated behavior that athletes look for in a coach. I mean, other behaviors like commitment, motivation, preparation are all essential to being a great coach and also being, good at your job when it comes to being a kinesiologist. But secondarily to that, again, is just to realize that people need to feel enjoyment. They need to get gratitude from the work they're doing. They need to feel like they're a part of something bigger. They need to know that you care about them and that you really believe in what their purpose is. It's not, remember, one thing is it's not your journey, it's theirs. And that's the thing that I always forgot when I was putting together programs. Like, if I created the best opportunity, they were going to have success. There's no I in this. And it's interesting because in my later years of my career, I started to see things like this thing called B-science, okay? So this is what's called behavioral economics. And I don't want to go too deep on this, and just to give you some background, and it's actually my first degree was actually in psychology, so this is near and dear to my heart in the sense of understanding that if I'm not aware of the psychology of the buyer or the psychology of the athlete or the psychology of the client that I'm working with, my ability to affect my personal outcome economically and to therefore have gratification and therefore have longevity is vastly changed. A lot of times in the industry, we think that the programs, the services, one second here, it's going to change my screen a little bit. The products that are designed with the assumption that humans are rational and forward-looking, capable of analyzing information. And yes, we are, but the reality is we know that most people are emotional, cognitively lazy, and more often than not, irrational in their decision-making. Now, perfect example of this. When you stand in a grocery line, okay, and all of a sudden you're in this long line that weaves you through 4 different aisles. Every one of those aisles is stacked full of things that you're going to make an emotional decision on. Candy bars, Coca-Cola, various snack food because you're likely hungry from running around all day long, or like some little quick thing that you could purchase randomly and irrationally. When you walk into Costco, what are the first things you see? Things that are on sale, things that they have in high quantity that they want to get rid of because they know that first impression you have, you're going to see something go, oh yeah, I really needed that. But I guarantee you none of that was on your list walking in the door. So remember, most people make purchases based on unconscious, emotional, and impulsive portion of the brain, which we refer to as the deep phylogenetic portion of your brain, which is broken down into your brainstem and into your cerebral cortex, or deep into your cerebellums, the parts of our phylogena that actually came early. And then the later portion, the fight or flight type responses, the involuntary versus voluntary responses inside of our body. And then we have a rational thinking system, and we believe we're rational thinking when we do scientific, when we do empirical studies and we actually use the scientific rationale, like that is rational thinking. We work ourselves through a question. We come up with a series of hypotheses. We analyze the information. That's very rational. So when you're a student in university, the rational portion of your brain, particularly if you go on to become a researcher in any sort, way, or fashion, is going to be rationally focused. People just aren't rational. So the real world, where money is to be made, where careers are to be built, is a very irrational world. Just bear those kind of things in mind. Guys, if you have questions or ideas or thoughts, by all means, light up the chat as much as you possibly can. I will do my very best towards the end to scan through this, and hopefully the ladies that are supporting me here, Katrina, can help also navigate that as we get towards the end of the seminar. So the book that I'm referring to is Thinking Fast and Slow, and it's very well known. He's won numerous awards for the information that's in this System 1, System 2 thought process. Okay, so what are the behaviors? So what's the behavioral economics of success? One of the things to realize that will trump everything is being engaged, actually caring about the job that you're doing, the people that are in front of you, the opportunity you have, being grateful for the position that you're placed in when these up, like I am today. I'm incredibly grateful to be here. I don't get to present as much anymore because of COVID, and a lot of the conferences that were scheduled were shut down. So my opportunity to actually engage with large number of people at the same time are very low, relatively speaking. So I'm super grateful to be here, and as excited as I would be if I was on stage with 4,000 people in front of me at the NSGA conference, say, for example. Remember this. The best training program in the world is useless if it's not being followed, if it's not being executed. So no matter what the program is, no matter how good it is, and I have examples of this I could relate to when I go back to my first strength conditioning gig as the women's basketball strength conditioning coach for the Memorial University of Newfoundland. I went in there with a Olympic lifting program put together for the girls. Not one of them had any Olympic lifting experience, but I believe truly that was the pathway to success in terms of power development and first step quickness and some of the athleticism transfers that we know that are associated with Olympic lifts. Within 3 weeks, I had the entire team mutinying against doing workouts because of my lack of understanding how to softly move from where they're at to where I would like them to be. And that's that whole concept of meeting people where they're at. So the engagement part only goes so far as your passion goes. So we have technical skills and we have non-technical skills, and they all end up in being this, service-oriented kind of business. And you have to realize that that's where we're at, that you're always going to be servicing people as a kinesiologist, as a physiotherapist, as a strength and conditioning coach, etc., and meeting them where they are and understanding how important that building relationships is essential. So guys, this is where the post-it notes can come in. If you have post-it notes close to you, if you have a piece of paper close to you, if you have anything you can scribble things down on, which I would hope as students at UFB, beyond your computer, you have some things to scribble on. I love post-it notes. I know probably just sounding a little bit old right now, to be honest. No need to put that in the chat. I get it. The reality is, every seminar I've watched since COVID had started, I have post-it notes all over my laptop and desk by the time it's done, and then I summarize them all into something onto my computer, because I just want all these random thoughts that I want to put them in different places. So we're going to do some work on post-it notes. Now, whatever your way of organizing is totally fine. I find colors cool, so I like to have a bunch of different post-it notes going. We're going to build a mission statement. We're going to talk about your core values. We're actually going to really dig deep into your why for the first half of this session, because I really want people to think clearly about their why, their purpose, their passion. And then how we can translate that into a meaningful, successful career is not something that most people give deep, rational thought to. And this is where we get to use system 2. Everything you do in life, you should have a purpose, and that why, you should be able to look yourself in the mirror, and even if you're having a bad day, say, this is my purpose. This is my why. You're studying for an exam and you're absolutely exhausted, or you're taking a course you're not fully on board with because you're just like, how does this play out? Like, how does this really align with the things that I want to do? There is something inside that kinesiology course. That program has been put together in a rational way to help give you information that will support your career one way, shape, form, or fashion. And if you're deliberate and purposeful, you will see where it is. And every time you can put purpose to everything you do, you'll always have alignment. And when you have alignment, it's a little easier to sort of focus on a career path and create longevity from it. Be authentic. One of the things that, I'm from Newfoundland. I'm sure by now someone has picked up an accent of mine. There is a link down on the bottom of this I would truly love to get to. It's one of the best speech that I've ever seen someone give, and it just happens to be by Jim Carrey. Yes, the actor Jim Carrey, to a group of graduates. So if and I have sent out the PDF link, to be clear, if I can't get back to this at the end, because I've also dropped the link in as one of the last slides, if I can't get back to this video as the last thing we do today because of time, please come back and click this link open. It's amazing. If you haven't seen the graduation speech of Jim Carrey, you need to. It's amazing. So authenticity. You can be a bit of a chameleon, and you'll hear people talk about being a chameleon, but the reality is, the more authentic you are to your purpose, your why, the person that you naturally are, and mold it to be understanding the importance of the soft skills, you will have a great deal of success in this industry. But stay true to yourself at all costs. Unless, obviously, you have major issues and you have things you need to work with, that's a whole different issue. Offline kind of conversation. Be consistent. Again, things that I didn't know. So just to be honest, Dr. Brandenburg knows I was by anything but consistent early on in my career, early on in my master's degree, et cetera, et cetera. I'm passionate. I loved what I was doing, had a lot of energy, but at the same time, I wasn't understanding how important consistent, authentic behavior was to building a brand, to helping me reinforce my why. Even though I knew exactly what my why was, I wasn't consistent in it. Remember, even if these things aren't easy practice, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built. It's going to take time to build the behavior set required for you to have success beyond students. Studying and doing well on exams are a different set of skills than are required in the real world in order for you to have success when you have real people with real feelings in front of you. So, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to talk about core values. What are you most passionate about? What do you hold in high value? Family, friends, causes, charities, ambitions. Think about that. Let it resonate a little bit. Even if we don't get through this well today, even if you're having a bit of a moment where you're like, I don't know, it's just not landing with me properly, come back to this and take a look at it. Don't skip this step. Come back and jot down the things you're most passionate about, the things that you care most about, the causes that are you're most aligned with, things that like make you go, oh, I really wish I could be a part of that. When I put together something called the Move Academy, we had to come up with a core value set. And if we look through the lens of innovative fitness, which is what the company I currently work for is the director of education, our core values were people first. We're in the people industry, and it's imperative that people are first. You always have to think about the client and meet them where they're at, but they are the first priority when it comes to providing service to them. Doesn't mean that your feelings don't count. Is that your service, you're giving a service to them, so you have to meet them where they're at. Purpose for everything. Helping you craft a career as an outstanding health and fitness professional is our purpose. So one of the reason why I love and the reason why I have my job is that when we bring trainers into workforce at Innovative Fitness, our goal is to help craft their skill, to give them peer evolution, to give them knowledge, to give them the power to work successfully with clients, possibly go on and do bigger and greater things in the industry. Performance. At the end of the day, we want people to get better at something. There's a lot of different dragons you can slay, but we truly do want clients to be better versions of themselves, to have goals, to set goals, to create realistic, smart goals, and help them move towards whatever performance they want to have. So realizing that there could be many goals running in the same time. There could be parallel lines running here. My goal for clients always have them injury and pain-free. That's a secondary goal for the client, though. So I want them injury and pain-free. I want them moving well, but they may want to lose 15 pounds. And their goal and my goal have to move in parallel lines for them. And then hopefully through my passion and through my purpose, they'll start to realize how important it is to move well and to be pain-free, and how that's going to transfer to a longevity in their lives and their ability to be able to function and perform and have ski downhill at age 60 to maybe do a triathlon at age 75, that kind of thing, like just to have purpose for themselves. And last but not least, premium. So we charge a premium dollar, so therefore we have to bring a premium service. We have to make sure that things like fresh towels and water is available, and meeting them at the front door, being 5 minutes early, a lot of those professional things, but also with the little things layered in that make clients feel special. Okay, so if we're thinking about building a genuine brand, okay, and you always want to be building a brand, and I don't mean in like an Instagram follower influencer kind of way, to be absolutely clear. Even though if you manage to get there, great, come talk to me. I'll tell you how to make money off of that too. But that's not my reality. My reality is be authentic, be science-driven. It's not always going to be the most vogue thing. I'm definitely not going to show my six-pack on an Instagram account. Just not going to happen. Now, if that happens to be something that you're genuinely passionate about because you've gone through a weight loss journey, or you just truly have worked hard to achieve that goal and you want others to work that hard with you, by all means, that's your brand. But step one, what are your core values? Okay, so you got to ask yourself very deeply, what are your core values? What really matters to you? Be clear, be authentic, stay clear and authentic to yourself, and then a passion to also come into play here again. So we're going to take 1 minute right now, okay? So not more than 1 minute. I want you to, on a list, on your sticky notes, wherever you want to go, take 1 minute to write down, just shoot words. First things that come to your, you can X-nay them out later if you want to. Just write down a few things that you really, truly hold in high value that you're most passionate about, okay? So you have 60 seconds. Now, if you really need to go pee, for example, go pee. If you're most passionate about doing that right now, have at her. Ideally, though, take the time to put down some words on a piece of paper. I'm going to take a look at the chat, see if there's anything. Can I do the chat? I can't do the chat. There's the chat. There we go. Oh, it's called Think Fast. So I'm going to answer a question. What was the book called from one of the previous slides? It's called Think Fast and Slow. Awesome book, by the way. You're welcome. How's everyone feeling about the information thus far? Thumbs up, thumbs down, yay. More interaction means good. Less interaction means whatever. Putting in time, getting some credit. Sweet. All right, moving on. Okay, so hopefully you got a few things written down. All right, so next thing, so now we know our core values. I mean, I do whole sessions on this, so I'm sorry that I'm rushing it, but if nothing else, I'm just going to hit you with a whole bunch of ideas, and you can come back to this, and you can really look at it. There's an entire handout, literally word for word, for what I'm going through right now has been sent to a PDF to Katrina, so you're more than welcome to pass that along, especially if the recording's a bit of an issue. So who are you, and what's your why? What's your mission statement? Now, I'm going to pop a couple up on the board here, and in the chat, tell me if you know who these mission statements belong to. Bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. It's a great mission statement. Anyone know who that belongs to? Check the chat here very quick. Hopefully I covered up the logos. Well, this is a Nike athlete, and this is Nike's mission statement, which is one of the more powerful ones in the world. Next one, another mission statement. This will be less obvious from the picture. Give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Anyone? Anyone know what this mission statement is or who it belongs to? Come on, someone's got the answer. Van City, I like it. Great answer. If it is Van City, they ripped it off from Facebook. Louisa, that's Facebook's mission statement. Now we got one more. This one might be obvious. Anyone who's got this one? To inspire and nurture the human spirit. One person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. So it's actually the first part, to inspire and nurture the human spirit, the mission. Then the statement is, all right, who's got this one? Someone's got to have this one. PG Tea Company. Love it. That's your tea company. Starbucks, that's correct. Good job, Aiden. Starbucks is correct. That is Starbucks. And I will tell you, if you really want to see authentic customer service, go to Starbucks. Okay? So if we're going to build a mission statement, you got to be able to answer certain questions. And we're going to go to an actual slide here which will do this. So I'm going to skim this real quick. Why do you do what you do? Who are your customers? How can you help them? And this is going to help you, even if you're not planning on going into business, to be clear. Understanding your mission and understanding your purpose is essential to you driving the pathway towards your success. I could tell you my backstory and how this helped me, but I think it's more important that we just go through this process for you, because it's not about me and it's all about you guys. And I don't want to waste time trying to talk about me about this stuff. What values are important to the company? I know you can't see all this now because it's covered up, but do you have a set of beliefs or core values? What do you aspire to achieve? How do you define success and achievement? And how is the company unique? Now, I know that looks like a lot. Boom, just glazed over. Here's the next piece of this puzzle. Hopefully. Move along. There we go. We're going to come back to this in a second. So be unique. Remember, you can't be all things to all people. I used to make this mistake. Now, I will say this quick evolution. As the director of education, I commonly refer to myself as the jack of all and the master of none. And that's because I have to be relatable in a whole bunch of different areas. Nutrition, performance, fitness, mobility, recovery, preparation, business, you name it, sales, service. I mean, there's just so many hats for me to wear to be a great influencer and a great mentor. But in recent times, I've actually started to reevaluate and go, Chad, that's what collaboration's all about. Collaborate with the best nutritionists that you can find. Collaborate with the best rehab professionals you can find. And focus on doing the thing that you're really good at, which is mobility and movement prep and what I would call like prepare to perform type work. So another great quote from Gary Ramsey: no one will be more successful being you than you. Okay? So stay unique to yourself. Think about the question about how you're uniquely positioned. Now, this is where we're going to answer the questions really quickly. Now, avatar just basically means who's your database? Who are you trying? What's your demographic that you're going after? Like, who is your client? Okay, so what is blank's avatar? Now, blank means your company statement. So if that's in, like, if I'm just saying me, for example, I could say workouts avatar. So what is workouts avatar? What is Chad's avatar? If it's your name, by all means, like if it's what is Jason's avatar? What is Louise's avatar? Right? What is Aiden's avatar? What is Katrina's? But if you have a company and you've got the vision of what the company is, drop the company name in right now. Okay? Why is Chad important today? Why is Katrina important today? Why is workout important today? What outcomes do you want Chad's clients or Katrina's clients, workout's clients to have? Why is workout uniquely positioned? And write these down. Use your sticky notes, guys. This is active. Core values, we already have those, right? We have those written out, so those just slide in there. And what are you most passionate about? And these things all line up to give you some ideas. Now, with all those sticky notes spread all over the board, so even if you didn't do sticky note time right now, come back to this slide and sticky note later. Put it all over the wall. Give yourself a vision board. Prop it down, and then come back to it and go, what are the common themes here? What are the key words? What are the industry relevant words that may come out of this? And then see if you can form a mission statement out of it. Now, here's what I will do. I'm pretty good with these mission statement things. I've gone through this a lot through some pretty cool organizations over the years. If you write out your mission statement and you send it to me, Instagram, my workout email, which I have at the end, any form of contact whatsoever, I will give you feedback on that mission statement. If we need to have a follow-up conversation, I will do that for you, because I truly believe in academia and how important it is to set our students up for success. What are your difference makers? Okay, so as a postgraduate, or even as a student for that matter, who's trying to set their career up for success, what things that you need that are going to help uniquely position you to have some success in the industry? So some of the most important things, some of the things that I would consider industry relevant at this time, obviously, things like loaded movement training. So understanding the concept of function and how that function transfers to life and sport, right? Lifting, dragging, tilting, swinging, flow, throw, shift, lift. You don't see any of these things on a machine in a gym. None of those things on a machine in a gym. Pitchforking, baling hay, using a sledgehammer, picking things up and putting things down, grabbing a suitcase, right? When you're traveling, which if we ever get to do again would be amazing. Those kind of things, that's the kind of thing where this type of training, for example, carrying, lifting, dragging, tilting, can actually set you up for what we call variable vector training and loaded movement training. Obviously, nowadays, it's important that we go online. So this workout platform is actually launched yesterday. I'll go into this a little bit more, maybe a little bit in the slides later, but it's a virtual online one-on-one training platform where I do all of my training. I actually train all of my clients off this when I'm remote, like I am right now in Victoria. Fascia research project. If you ask me nicely, I have a 4-hour conference seminar that I'm willing to send you. So the most amazing information from a gentleman by many people, but the guy who organized his name is Dr. Robert Schleip. Also has a book called Fascial Fitness. So Dr. Robert Schleip, Fascial Fitness, if you want to learn about fascia and how it impacts movement. And I know it's a vogue topic, but this goes into a really deep dive, particularly these links I have to a conference I took back in May of 2020. What are the trends? What are trending right now? So there's a couple different ones. This one actually came from the ACSM. Wearable technology is number one. So this is not weird that technology is up front. Now that was 2019, late 2019, this particular statistic came from. High intensity interval training, not shocking. Group training, pelotons, and going to various forms of things like CrossFit, and these boxes where community are built, etc. So Orange Theory Fitness all fit into categories of things you'd be familiar with. And the list goes on, right? So if you're building out a niche and your why, your authenticity happens to coincide with some of the things that are trending, then you have something that you can actually put in and turn into what we call behavioral economics, right? Economics, never lose sight. If your passion doesn't line up to something that can generate income, if making a career of this is important, then you may have to rethink your path, okay? If you look at this one, which came from CanFit Pro, which I've actually written several chapters in their current personal training textbook, active recovery, functional fitness, high intensity training, express workouts, et cetera, et cetera. So again, look at the trends and see if you can line up your passions. So if we look at certification and accreditation, so things that I believe kinesiologists in BC at this time should really look deeply into for a number of different reasons. Obviously, one, you can get a billable number, right? Like ICBC now will give clients 10 hours of kinesiology support for free. Not for free, well, covered. It's never free. Never use those words. Never free. Coverage is never free. And the cost of getting that coverage means that you're in a motor vehicle accident of some sort. So that's definitely not free either. But definitely, as soon as you possibly qualify, sign up and register for BCAK. Yes, it's expensive. But it is an essential element to being a kinesiologist. Now, if you don't plan on being a kinesiologist or you don't need their insurance, then maybe that's not the accreditation you need. NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I am a CSCS. I've been a CSCS since 1997, when Dr. Doherty and I actually went to Miami or Orlando, Florida, for example, to my first NSCA conference. So, and I continue to pay my fees every year. I, in fact, just recertified this 3 weeks ago, late, because I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I still paid. I still got my certification renewed. You could look at the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology. That was my first certification. They had something called the PFLC, which is a professional fitness and lifestyle consultant. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was very high-end laboratory assessments and all kinds of different assessment techniques that were associated with that. So I thought it was invaluable for me to actually have that accreditation and the strength and conditioning accreditation to try and become a strength and conditioning coach for high-performance athletes. And I do believe both were helpful. Now, in terms of certification, if you want to become a personal trainer, you would have to look at things like CanFit Pro, NASM, which is the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which was a great program. I do believe the textbook needs updating. CanFit Pro's textbook is relatively updated. The ACE certification has been recently updated for personal trainers as well. And some of these, they have different value propositions attached to them. So you may be certified only in Canada, but not be recognized in Australia, say, for example, or even though there's an association that could permit that. But with NASM and ACE, for example, they're internationally recognized and you have accreditation in most countries of the world. I can't give you the list, but it's elaborate and long. Now, if you want specialized certification, so these are sort of like generalist with some specification built inside of it. Like you may want to get BCAK over NSCA or CSEP, for example, as your accreditation, but you may also look deeper and start building niches. So like I am FMS level 1 and level 2 certified, for example. And that's because I really pride myself on being a mobility expert and focusing on helping people move better and pain-free. I'm also a master trainer in trigger point, for example. So that's another accreditation or certification that exists out there. Rad roller. This happened to be put together by a good friend of mine. His name is Kevin Hendry, who's an osteopath working out of Vancouver. Lower mainland more so. And he built out a really strong education platform around mobility that takes a pretty deep dive into pain and mobility and various things like muscle spindles and how those things interact, and interoception, which is how the brain interprets pain and how it influences your emotions, etc. It's really cool. FRC, which is functional range conditioning. This one's expensive, to be clear, but I took this course about 4 years ago, and one of the few game changers later in my career where I went, you know what, there's a lot of valuable information in here. So if you look, Andrew Ospina, if you look this course up, if mobility and movement is important to you, these are niche things you want to look at. And now I can't take a deep dive in all these different certification niches, but I wanted to take a look at that niche. And if you're really into nutrition, I would highly recommend looking at precision nutrition, which I think a lot of you've probably heard of. Another one that you probably haven't heard of, for example, is called Viper Pro. And I will say this, Michel Dalcourt is one of the best fitness presenters I have seen over the last 20 years. But his researches all his information he delivers, the education platform attached to Viper Pro, which is basically a log with handles, which you will see, because I'm going to do the last portion of this practically. If I can get the help of my lovely girlfriend, I'm going to actually do a couple practical live demonstrations, and I'll show you the log if you like. But the education platform is more important than the tool. This guy here, okay, Tom Purvis, one of the best biomechanists I've ever heard speak. This particular picture came from a video on squat biomechanics, and that little anchor rod situation he had, it talks about levers and how that impacts the way you're going to squat and what the best method for squatting is. So if you go online to YouTube and look up Tom Purvis squat, you're going to come across some really great videos. Mind-blowing, to be perfectly honest. And then if you're really into weightlifting, for example, I am also certified through BC Weightlifting Association for level 1 and level 2. And at the time, it was essential because I was beginning to teach at Steve Nash Fitness Clubs. And even though I know how to do Olympic lifts, and in fact was doing them yesterday, I wasn't the expert in it. Same thing applies to kettlebell. So kettlebells are very vogue right now. But if you're really into high performance and functional movement, the accreditations on the right are something you might want to look into, because they will set you up to be industry relevant. And industry relevance is really important. I can't go too deep into this just because of time, but it's essential to understand that being on top of innovation will allow you to pivot. It will allow you to recognize, and the only reason why I've had the career longevity I've personally had is because I constantly stay cutting edge. I've always looked, and I don't mean go to technology that has no science attached to it, but you also have to recognize that sometimes the applied sciences become empirical sciences if there's due diligence done to the process. So sometimes I'm a little bit on the front edge of things, and one of those technologies that's on here, for example, which is that foam roller looking thing, it's what I call muscle specific vibration. So there's whole body vibration, which has a ton of research attached to it. Through extrapolation and me looking at the research in a deep dive, like, I believe that muscle specific vibration and practical application actually works incredibly well. So recovery, and the reason why I'm putting recovery up there is recovery is becoming very vogue. So I wanted to do this today. I actually just received my very own set of Normatec boots. So excited. I've done BFR, which is blood flow restriction. Not exciting. Not exciting at all. 30 repetitions when you don't have a lot of oxygen makes the muscles absolutely tortured, but we know there's a ton of research associated with growth hormone, recovery, hypertrophy, you name it. I mean, if you want a really cool opportunity to learn, there's something called the SPIN Summit, SPIN Summit. Right? It's essential to realize that that summit is going to set you up for success in a lot of different ways, because it's a lot of cutting edge information from a lot of the exercise physiologists associated with the Canadian Sports Centre. So really great information in there. Some other tools in there that I won't go too deep on, but the reality is there's things like heart rate variability, whole body vibration, muscle specific vibration, what I call myofascial compression versus myofascial release, which is like the old terminology associated with foam rolling. There's research supporting all of these things. BFR, compression, EMS, which is like the couple of the more important, the more I'd say noteworthy and well thought through, are called Marco Pro and PowerDot, which is, sadly to say, Dr. Ho was on to something back in the day. Makes me laugh because I made a lot of fun of that dude over the years. Okay, so also important to realize. Okay, so I'm going to take a break here in a couple of minutes. Just wanted to guys give you a heads up. I know I'm talking a mile a minute. This is not different from when I did my master's at university, but I really am passionate about getting as much information as I can. So I deliver lectures and seminars. One of the few places I've had a voice in the last year and a half or so, feels like a year and a half, I guess it's a year technically, has been through this thing called the Personal Trainers Network. So it's a Facebook page, look it up. It was opened by myself and Curtis Christopherson, who's the actual owner of Workout and Innovative Fitness, and designed to just be an open, free forum. There's a couple of questions you have to answer to get into it, but we've got 600 members now, and every second week I pull someone from my personal database of highly skilled professionals and bring them online for a presentation. The next one's actually with a chiropractor who is also a personal trainer, who's also a yogini, and one of the greatest minds as far as building collaboration and community in the yoga community as possible. So her name's Janine Burley. So she's our next guest speaker. Previous one, and all the previous lectures and seminars are all videotaped and on there as well. One of the reason why I put up the IF logo right here is not about innovative fitness. It's not about Orange Theory. What I do say is this: we have an elaborate onboarding process, just like we did when I was at Steve Nash Fitness Clubs. When you come on to be a trainer at Innovative Fitness, you go through a strong process of learning and alignment. And it teaches you how to program for people, real clients, real issues. You go through an extensive mentorship process with one of our mentor coaches, and you're really taken under our wing to make sure that the high quality premium service is delivered to the clients in a fairly consistent way, but also that your needs are being met and the information that you're learning is important. So another guy, Scott Livingston. So the guy who was actually in charge of that B210 group I mentioned earlier that was in charge of training Olympians has its own company called Reconditioning. Amazing online community as well built around this, but also great information shared on the platform. That's also a Facebook page, so just look it up. Club 16, Trevor Linden Fission. Now, the reason why I have Club 16 up there is I know the director of education, the director of fitness, for example, and it's someone who I believe in, who's very caring, who loves to help people, who wants to support the industry in every way possible, and who wants his trainers to have success. So, Tim's a good friend of mine, but he's also someone that actually has done an exceptional job in his role, and I want to support him and to say this. If you're new to the industry and personal training is something that you want to do and discover, like I would say, you're going to see a lot of weight loss clients, you're going to see a lot of fitness, basic hypertrophy, body composition type clients, but you're also going to come across a lot of people joint pain. You're going to come across a lot of people that have numerous goals. So therefore, you're going to have an expansive look into the library. It's not all going to be perfectly aligned to your why, but it'll really help you get experience with a lot of different people. And all of a sudden, you may find you have a passion for something you didn't really realize, because the reality is you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And this last one is the Trainers and Clinicians of Vancouver. Another great community, and these are all local. The reason why I put all these up there, all local to Canada, and or like people that you have access to here and easily. So the only one that's off-site at all is Scott Livingston and Reconditioning. They're based out of Mont-Tremblant in Quebec. So we're going to move on to part 2. I'm going to give you a 2-minute break right now, check in real quick. So guys, just how are we feeling right now? Trina, how are we doing?